So again, I am Lady Fexique. This is my channel. I put out videos just about self-development, about my own personal experiences, but more so my personal experiences, knowledge that may be able to help you guys. So I figured I would just start off by explaining that this video is just going to be more or less how to either let go of those around you who may not be treating you the best, but there's a form of obligation that you may feel the need to keep this person around. Also, I have notes here, so I'm going to kind of just delve into these a little bit. So basically in life, like, doesn't matter who you are, like, as a person. Like, you could have had, like, the best upbringing, whatever, but unfortunately there's going to be times that there's going to be people that don't display the best energetic vibes towards your personality. Whether that means that it could be a close friend, a sibling, and sometimes, depending on your situation, it could be parental figures. It could be a mother, a father, a grandmother, you know, anyone that holds such an obligation to you. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how to let go of the power that is so embedded within us, especially when it comes to, like, friendships that we've held on for so long, just out of obligation because the complacency, or you just feel like, okay, like, I'm just used to this. I'm used to feeling or being treated a certain way, so it's normal, right? But it's not. When you go through conversations with people, and if the conversations, if you find that your energy is just, like, completely depleted by the time that you're done talking to this person, because this person may only be talking, like, I don't know, like, either surface, which is fine. Like, a lot of people are surface conversationalists, and that is who they are, like, naturally. But it could be someone who just naturally just wants to always have that form of sympathy for themselves. So they're genuinely always, like, needing that form of validation, needing that form of, please, like, blah, blah, like, help me, you know what I mean? Or not even help me so much as you owe me. And I find that context of the phrase "you owe me" is such, especially if it's a parental figure, someone that you really look up to in a superior, like, superior way. But these are people that may be people that you've been associated with for a long time. And so what happens is, eventually, whether that's, like, a partner that you've been with, you know, like, you may start to realize that you, like, are feeling emotionally disattached. And this is a form of, like, just almost becoming aware of your environment, right? So this isn't just, like, a form of, like, oh, like, I've been treated like this my whole life, like, you know, like, it is normal, so blah, blah, like, I haven't seen that I deserve anything more than this yet, right? But once you have that concept in your mind that you do not need to associate yourself with people of such low vibrations, and of people that have such internalizing guilt for themselves, what am I trying to say? That you don't need to constantly feel the need to validate them. Like, if you're not feeling validated for yourself, like, if you leave this person, you know, later on you're at home and, you know, like, you're realizing, like, I didn't really get so much out of that. Like, I might have said two things that were going on in my life, you know, like, but it was more or less the other person who was, you know, like, talking about themselves, which, at the end of the day, like, if that's the relationship you guys have, that's fine. If it's, like, you're the listener, they're the talker, like, some people can work like that very well. I know for the longevity of my life, I've always been, like, the listener, or the person who will ask questions and then listen and ABC. But for the most part, like, genuinely, like, the feeling of the disattachment, these are forms of, like, being aware of your environment now, being aware that you need to set boundaries for yourself, being aware that even though sometimes, like, you may feel even prepared to let these people back in, say you've decided to take a break from a person or these people or whoever it may be that is causing you this energy drain or this concept of, like, you know, like, this guilt, this obligation. I want you, just for a second, if you are watching this video, I want you to, right now, if you want to, or later on when you're journaling or what have you, even within your phone, you know, I just want you to name at least one person that you feel, you know, like, might be taking advantage of you. It may not just be, like, physically, financially, it could be mentally. It all depends on your situation. I personally cannot, like, I don't know your story, I don't know, you know what I mean? My kitty's here. But I don't know your story, right? So I can't say to you that these people will always, like, that these people, like, if you take your boundaries and you explain these to people, I cannot promise you that this is gonna fix things for the longevity. Like, I cannot promise you, my little Bubby, your nail stuck in me. I can't promise you that it'll always fix the situation, but I can promise you that once you have your form of self-worth, and your form of what boundaries, morals, and values that you genuinely want to live by. And so what I want you to do with that name or names, sometimes it can be more than one, all depends on if you've come from a broken family, or you've come from just a broken lifestyle, or you may have come across just this one person that you just feel very energetically drained by. But I want you to make a list of pros and cons as to what you get out of the relationship that you and this person have. And then cons, I want you to think about yourself. Like, I want you to sit down with this list that you're making, and I want you to be able to sit down and delve into the whys. Why does this person make me feel the way that I do? You know what I mean? And it's not to say that people can make you feel a certain way, but when there's certain triggers, right, there could be certain, again, when we're talking about guilt, obligation, you know, there's a lot of that, and unless you're able to see through that, or unless you have had prior experience of letting people go on a concept of grieving people that are still alive. So when I say that, I'm meaning we have to let go of the expectations that we hold on these people. And it's not for, like, it's really not for them, right? Like, so obviously you can lead a horse to water, but unfortunately you cannot make it drink, right? So it's more or less like figuring out what you can personally depict within yourself, and to depict whether or not you want these certain boundaries to be verbalized with this person, whether or not you want to write a letter to this person. There's many different ways. Obviously I haven't really been looking at my notes, but I'm sure that I've covered quite a lot. Just because I feel like I already knew my intention when I had started recording. Let me just check. But anyways, okay, so if you decide down the line that you genuinely want to keep a relationship with this person because you're like, okay, like, I love them, you know, like, I know that there's certain things, like, all we can do is literally let go of the expectations, accept that this person, unfortunately, unless they want to, like, unless they feel the need that they personally need to change, like, unless they feel like, you know what I mean, like, you cannot make anybody do anything, you know what I mean, you can't, like, you can only help yourself at the end of the day, and what I mean by that is genuinely, like, if you can make your own boundaries and really stick to them on an emotional level, I promise you, that will just make you feel so much more secure within yourself. It's not going to fix all of your problems, but implementing your own personal strategies with your boundaries, all that kind of stuff, that's going to help you in a lot of ways. If you decide, or if you are just a general, like a sensitive person in general, obviously tiger's eye, obsidian, onyx, all the kind of grounding stones. These are stones that I personally wear on me when, like, basically all the time, like literally all the time, but like if I'm in like an emotional kind of mood, not mood, but like if I'm in a situation where like I can just feel the heated, you know what I mean, and the emotions, the intensities, my tiger's eye is something that I genuinely, it helps me become mindful. It helps me to become in the moment again. It helps me to realize that, like, this is okay. It is what it is, and that's the bottom line. Like, there's nothing standing in between this and this and this. Like, everything that we think about within our thoughts, like, these are all embedded false beliefs. These are all conditionings that we just genuinely, we didn't know that we had the choice whether or not we wanted to change these or not, you know what I mean? So now this is the time where you're able to kind of like reprogram, but also like recreate yourself, like recreate your own boundaries, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to genuinely like sacrifice yourself for anyone if you feel like you can't, you know what I mean? Make sure that your cup is going to be full before you even decide to figure it out for anyone else. But yeah, so there's always, I'm gonna just say one last thing before I head out, not head out, but just to end this video. I hope it was helpful, but if there are questions that people are like, okay, like, I understand, like, letting go, vulnerability versus acceptance, like, you know, like, because everyone, like, we all need to be vulnerable in some points in our lives, right? So, like, it's just being able to decipher whether or not, like, being vulnerable during this time is a good time, or having a form of boundaries to state what you personally want, right? So, like, that's the difference. The discernment versus the judgment, right? Like, being able to be so, like, concise with what you want, to discern your boundaries, to be able to look within your environment and know that, like, you're okay. Just make sure that you are protecting yourself, because at the end of the day, you genuinely, like, you are all that. As much as we can rely on other people, like, sorry, my cat has fur on me now because he was on me. Stop. So, like, you, as much as you can rely on other people, if that means, like, emotionally, financially, or just, like, on a physical level of, like, a partnership, unfortunately, like, unless you know yourself, you cannot continue to grow. You cannot continue to really implement these things because you don't know yourself. You cannot, you know what I mean? Like, I need to really express to you, like, if you really genuinely want to know yourself, know your boundaries, know your morals, know your values, like, all these things, know what you personally want when it comes to toxic relationships, and know your boundaries as in what you don't want to feel anymore. And I promise you, even if you were to write a letter and send it, or whatever the case may be, if that reply or that response is not something that is reciprocative, like it's not something that we pretty much already have known that if this person, it's the person that you're writing a letter to, obviously this person might not see your perspective. And you know what? Sometimes they may never see your perspective. And unfortunately, that's just because they're unaware. Like, they're unaware of what's within them. Like, they're unaware that anybody else's emotions could ever, you know what I mean, be something of their reality. Like, they're only within themselves. So the last thing I'll get onto, I know I talk a lot, but I'm just going to read this because, yeah. Okay, so I just wrote here, I will be doing a whole other video on personal boundaries. So I know today we talked about boundaries, so I had asked, if you guys want to write down a name, write out the pros, the cons. I'm going to be making another video, and it's going to be genuinely based on personal boundaries, but also, the concept of, pushing us through, these emotional roller coasters, emotional, unfortunately, mental health is not something that is linear. When it comes to recovery, it is not. So I don't know if this is going to be beneficial for a lot of people. Well, I personally believe that it could be, because it's one of those things that I genuinely, I've been struggling so much with this for so long. But I want my next video to talk about personal boundaries, but also, pushing through just to hit, I don't want people, because this is what I did, and I do this constantly. It's something that I'm naturally known for. I'm repetitively done this. So what I do is I go into autopilot. I may not be 100%, but I go into autopilot. I may look 100% fine on the outside. Everybody who has dealt with mental health issues, we all know this. We're able to really put on that face. And unfortunately, over the past little while, that face for me was so easily, I was doing great. I was very, very well doing great. But then something had happened, and I thought I was stronger than I was. And so I pushed myself. And when you push yourself, sometimes challenges, mostly 80 to 90% of challenges, they're usually 100% of the times that you push yourself, those challenges, they're just challenges for you to either realize, the way life isn't able to be manipulated in that context, you know what I mean? That's why I'm saying you need to let go of expectations. But also, you have to realize that you can't push yourself so far with people in a negative context when they're so toxic and they only see your perspective, because at the end of the day, what are you naturally getting from that? Because if anything, all you're really getting, if you do shield yourself, if you do ground yourself beforehand, all you genuinely are getting is just negative energy back to you. If this person is not willing to, meet you halfway. Because anything in life, we are all individuals. Partnerships, relationships, anything of that context, no matter what it is, we need to meet halfway. And so I'm going to stop talking, but I will make another video. It might be today, I don't know, but I genuinely want people, if you're interested in writing out the pros and cons, and then following me through to the next video of the boundaries, personal boundaries, and then also just personal boundaries for your mental health, to be able to keep growing and not feel that stagnation, that feeling of shit, what just happened. And trust me, this whole week has been an accumulation of all of that. But anyways, blessings until the next time. If you have any questions, again, I'm on Instagram. If you want to subscribe, go for it. It's up to you. If you have any questions, you can either leave them in the comments. If you feel the need to message me automatically through Instagram, my phone's around. Like, I'm not one to be like, oh, like, why are they messaging me? I genuinely, like, I want to help people. And so if you're willing to, but on Sunday, just for the last little bit of things, I am going to be posting one, like, it's going to be either my second next video or for whatever, it depends. But on Sunday, I will be creating an application for people to apply. It's going to be a week-long thing for people to receive a free reading from me. And it's a half an hour to 45-minute reading, depending on the situation. We can go through Zoom, and we will be able to discuss, like, what may be bothering you, and ways we could kind of get into that. And depending on that, we can kind of go from there. But I just kind of want to really start my journey with you guys on the freshest page, and I want to be able to give my knowledge to you guys with a free reading. Unfortunately, of course, I can't just, like, I used to do this. I'd go online and literally, like, be like, bro, anybody want a free reading? And then I'd be, like, so encompassed by, like, I'm not joking, like, 200 messages. And it was just the energy. Of course, like, I would try, but eventually, like, I had to be like, guys, like, I cannot focus, you know what I mean? Like, I want to help, but I need to have my boundaries.